Welcome to Practice Playbook, your go-to podcast for mastering the art of practice management as a financial advisor. My name is Brandon Chapman. I'm an independent financial advisor based in Vancouver, BC, and the founder of AdvisorFlow. Each episode of this podcast is adapted from a live webinar and distilled into a quick, actionable format to help you grow your practice with clarity and purpose. In today's episode, we're diving into strategies for growing your insurance block of business with guests Jake Sheehan, financial advisor at Life Design Systems, and Charlie Conron, founder of Life Design Analysis. Together, they share insights on how you can turn your complex policies into clear client value and scale your practice through automation. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine an established practice, this podcast offers real-world advice to help you succeed. Let's dive in.
Okay, advisors, let's face it, the sheer volume of information coming at you, it's like a fire hose every single day.
Yeah, totally relentless. But, staying on top of things is critical if you want to grow.
Yeah.
Especially that insurance block.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why we did this deep dive for you today.
We've been digging into the insights from a practice management webinar recently. There's some really sharp advisors on there.
Real pros actually doing it. Building successful insurance practices right now.
Mm-hmm. And our mission here, pretty simple, really.
Cut through all that noise, pull out the absolute best, most actionable stuff, things you can literally take and use, like today.
We went through it all, wrestled with the material, processed what the experts shared.
And here's what really jumped out at us as being super impactful for your practice. Okay, let's unpack this.
So the first big one, and this came through loud and clear from Jake's story, is you just have to build your practice on a plan, a solid written plan.
Oh, absolutely. Non-negotiable.
What happened with us is I work, as Brendan mentioned, I work with my father, Joe, and we've been working together since about 2009. We had a bit of an inflection point around 2017 after the madness of the end of 2016. And we had this point where Joe was sort of burnt out and saying, I want some time off. And I was saying, let's keep our foot on the gas. And that was a big point for us to realize we needed a plan. We were just kind of run and gun up until that point. So, where we start with was our core message. And that was really, at the end of the day, what are we trying to do here?
Time for real systems, time to write it down.
Right. And the plan itself went into it.
Well, defining their core message was key. What are we actually trying to do here?
For us, it sort of boils down in some shape or form to we're trying to help people. We're trying to help people understand their finances, deal with insurance, deal with, in the event of death and disability, these difficult issues. But we really just want to help people. So that was as much as we could distill that down. And then this really helped with whenever we were sort of working on files or we were in the trenches and we're dealing with all areas of the planning. We were maybe confused on where to go or where to focus. We went back in terms of saying, what are we trying to do? And that was help people. And that really helped clarify or maybe recalibrate what we were doing there.
Simple, but powerful.
And that drove everything else.
Planning first, then the tools and products to support that plan.
Makes sense. And finding clients.
Identifying those reliable sources for new business. So systematically mining their existing book of business. That was big.
Can't forget your current clients.
Definitely not. Also, building relationships with COIs, accountants, lawyers, the drill, and using social media strategically.
And crucially, tracking it all.
Exactly. Tracking. Got to know what's actually working, what's driving the results. Data doesn't lie.
Beyond the big picture plan, Jake talked efficiency tools too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Next one is the calendar. Just on a day-to-day basis, I am militant with my calendar in terms of just making the most of our time and being as efficient as possible. So everything is very regimented in terms of the meeting reminders so that, again, we're just being protective of our time and making the most use of our clients' time.
Huge discipline.
I believe it. What else?
Tools like Calendly for scheduling, you mentioned, like one bad email back and forth trying to find a meeting time.
The worst.
Just instantly showed him how valuable that software is. Saves so much headache.
Totally. And task management.
Todoist was his example. It's about that disciplined prioritizing. So you can, as he put it, bat above our weight class. Really maximize your time.
But it wasn't just about business tools and schedules, was it?
No, and this part was really interesting. He talked about incorporating a mindfulness practice and finding outlets, ways to handle the pressure of growing a business.
Mindfulness, how does that fit in?
He mentioned a book, 1 Second Ahead, about integrating it practically, like starting the day with just a moment of quiet. or using it to focus when that task list feels overwhelming.
So it's not just grinding harder.
Right. It's about doing the right things, but from a more centered, less frantic place.
Yeah.
Managing the mental game.
Okay, so wrapping up this first insight, it's not just have a plan. It's have a clear written plan, plus the discipline with tools, plus those personal habits like mindfulness. That's the foundation for real sustainable growth, not just burning yourself out.
Exactly. All right, so you've got your plan, your house is in order. Now, how do you actually talk to clients about insurance? That brings us to insight number 2.
Ah, yes, Charlie's perspective, the power of visuals. This was fascinating.
Totally. Especially his background. Coming from mechanical engineering, he looked at the typical insurance illustration.
The infamous 100-page data dump.
Dumping 100 pages of text and numbers, as he put it.
If you actually could communicate the value of these products much easier to clients, and you weren't dumping 100 pages of text and numbers for them to figure it out, or spending the time to crunch the numbers in Excel, and like Jake's doing, displaying those visuals. And so that was really my secret sauce that we started on. And it was, the visuals with how we would present insurance options to clients.
He saw right away that's not how people process information effectively. Simple idea, profound impact. And the why is just basic human wiring. Something like 50% of our brain power goes to processing images.
Wow, half.
Yep. And 70% of our sensory receptors. They're in our eyes. Visuals just click instantly.
Use that road signs analogy, right?
Yeah, perfect example. You see that red octagon, stop, way faster than reading the letters STOP. Visuals are just processed incredibly quickly compared to text.
And the impact. Did it work in practice?
Oh, big time.
First year, we doubled it, taking them to 1.4 million. The second year, we actually doubled it even more. We brought it all the way to almost $3.3 million in FYC. And Larry obviously recognized this. He's very happy that his FYC has tripled effectively in a short period of time.
That's incredible. And it wasn't just about closing more deals.
No, that's the really interesting part. Clients started asking for the longer-term, more comprehensive products. Why? Because they finally understood the differences, the benefits, the trade-offs. The visuals made it clear.
Makes perfect sense. You can visually show, say, which one has the higher CDA value, the cash surrender value. Makes it tangible.
Or visually map out that potential term policy renewal shock. That a huge premium jump versus the stability of a permanent policy. Seeing it makes it real.
And presenting options, like good, better, best.
Right. The 3 bears effect, sometimes called asymmetrical dominance. Laying out options visually helps clients compare properly, feel confident in their choice. They can see why one makes more sense for them.
So the big takeaway here, visuals aren't just fluff. They're not just making things look pretty.
Absolutely not. They are serious communication tools. They cut through the complexity, boost understanding, increase persuasion.
And ultimately speed up your sales velocity. Powerful stuff.
Definitely. Okay, so you're planned, you're communicating visually. Where do the opportunities actually come from? Let's turn inward now.
Insight number 3, unlocking the gold mine in your existing book of business.
Your most accessible growth engine, really. Jake touched on this with his basic CRM reports.
Right, simple stuff. Birthdays, term anniversaries, age changes.
Basic but effective starting points, just by paying attention.
It's just simple stuff that gave us a report every month, that gave us a fresh list of people to check in on. And it was just that basic stuff that helped churn a lot of business out of our existing block.
But Charlie's approach with life design analysis, LDA, that took it way deeper, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. LDA is about aggregating in-force policy data. Think about that. It pulls data from all the policies you already manage.
Across different carriers, different systems, maybe.
Potentially, yeah. And then it identifies and actually ranks the opportunities. Things like potential term conversions, maybe 35 exchanges, policies that are just overdue for a look, stuff that might be buried in a filing cabinet otherwise.
So it's moving from being reactive to proactive.
Exactly. You're not waiting for that dreaded renewal letter to hit the client's mailbox and cause panic.
You're getting ahead of it.
You approach them early, using the data, visually showing them the path that they're on with their current policy before the sticker shock hits.
And technology makes this feasible, right? You can't do that manually for hundreds of clients.
No way. Systems like LDA automate it. They flag the urgent opportunities based on issue dates, product types, whatever criteria you set.
And even help with the next step.
Yep. Can generate quotes automatically, create those visuals you need for the client conversation. It streamlines the whole process.
Hey, are you enjoying the episode so far? If so, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Brandon Chapman and let me know what topics you'd like to hear next. And if you're finding this episode valuable, don't forget to leave a review or share it with a colleague who might also enjoy it. Now back to the episode.
Charlie mentioned a powerful question they use.
Yeah, that was great. Based on the data review, asking the client simply, when do you want your insurance to end?
But we wanted people to know that there was value in these longer term products. Because when we'd show them the presentations, we'd go out there and simply say, what line do you want to be, or when do you want your insurance to end? And this was a kind of a big catalyst because, Larry would ask people in these meetings, when do you want your insurance to end? And he would wait until they broke the silence. And sometimes people, well, what do you mean? Like, when do I want my insurance to end? And a lot of they think about it. And essentially, they come back, well, I want my insurance to end when I die. And we would go into the report, simply scroll our mouse across the age and say, at the point you think, obviously we don't know when people are going to pass. We know that they will, but we don't know when. We would say, wherever you think you'd like to pass, generally people think about 85 to 90. What line would you like to be in terms of the graph on the chart? And again, it almost made it a no-brainer for people to say, well, look, if I really do need insurance for life, or I'm going to have liabilities for life, I want the permanent product.
Powerful.
It really clarifies the need. And think about this approach when considering buying a book of business.
Oh, good point.
If you're looking at acquiring another advisor's clients, knowing what's in there, the policy details, the hidden opportunities, and having a system to generate more revenue off of them, that makes the acquisition way more valuable and less risky.
So the breakthrough realization, your existing clients, probably your biggest source of untapped growth.
And technology is the key to unlocking it strategically, identifying those opportunities systematically. It's not a nice to have anymore, it's core strategy.
Okay, final key insight. Let's talk compliance and modernization. The landscape is definitely shifting.
No doubt about it. Brandon really hammered this point.
So over the last few years, CRM1, CRM2, these have led to kind of KYC and KYP requirements for advisors. On the investment side, several dealers chose Cap Intel or similar tools to standardize this. FISRA on the insurance side, they are fining agents for unsuitable sales of life insurance.
And new regulations like PSRA, he mentioned, specific rules around sales and replacements.
It's all driving this huge need for standardized documentation, consistent reason why templates, a documented discovery process. You have to show your work.
And so why I'm bringing this up is there's going to be an increased need for advisors, insurance brokerages, and MGAs to ensure that their advisors are not only creating reason why templates, but also are tracking the discovery process. And really that's the area that AdvisorFlow is focused on. Now, many MGAs and dealers, they distribute PDFs to advisors and say, hey, here's the templates we want you to use. But frankly, that's difficult to track and it's not intuitive for advisors or clients. And so what we're doing at AdvisorFlow is standardizing the data collection during the discovery process. So just like LDA is standardizing insurance presentations for those apples to apples comparisons, we're trying to make sure that the process is seamless for clients and the compliance process is standardized for advisors.
So compliance is a driver, but the benefit is broader.
Absolutely. Technology enables standardization, boosts overall efficiency, and less advisors, frankly, earn more, increase our revenue by doing less work, automate the admin, focus on the advice.
They also touched on that classic line, insurance is still sold, not bought.
Yeah, acknowledging the reality. Even with direct-to-consumer options popping up, complex needs require expert guidance. But the industry has to take that friction away, make the process of buying smoother, easier for the client once the decision is made.
Which points towards that hybrid model.
Exactly. Combining your expert advice, your planning, your relationship with technology that makes things seamless.
Making it easier for clients to sort of understand it, making it easier for them to administer on it. Even things like the applications, like you think about DocuSign, how much easier that made everyone's lives. And it's almost, it also helps us represent ourselves in a more modern light, as opposed to saying, we're the only ones that are going to come over with a contract and a piece of paper to sign. So it's sort of pushing our businesses in the industry along in terms of modernizing these things that make the processing easier, make us look better in front of our clients, but then also still delivering good advice.
That's the key. Keep the advice quality high, but use tech to handle the rest efficiently.
Okay, so the final takeaway feels pretty clear. Technology isn't optional anymore.
Not at all. It's fundamental for compliance, yes, but also for standardization, for efficiency, and ultimately for freeing up your time to do the high-value work only you can do, serving clients better and growing your practice.
Wow, okay. That was a whirlwind, but hopefully really useful. We distilled a lot there.
Yeah, a quick deep dive into those core strategies from advisors who are actually making them work.
So, to recap, build on a solid written plan. Use visuals to make complex ideas clear and compelling.
Proactively mine your existing book using data and technology. And embrace tech for compliance, sure, but also for efficiency and scaling your practice.
These aren't just theories. They're practical pathways to really grow your insurance block of business effectively in today's world.
And remember, this whole deep dive, it was designed to be a shortcut for you.
Yep, pulling out those key nuggets from the experts, saving you the time of wading through everything yourself. Hopefully we delivered on that.
So thinking about all this, the push for standardization, the complexity clients face, here's a final thought for you to chew on.
What's the one area in your practice right now? Is it your planning process, your client presentations, how you reach out to existing clients, or maybe your tech adoption?
Yeah, which one of those areas, if you focused on improving it using some of these insights we talked about, could genuinely make the single biggest difference to your growth over the next, say, 12 months?
And maybe zooming out even further. The whole advice landscape is changing, constantly evolving. How are you positioning yourself today to not just keep up, but to actually be a leader in whatever the future of advice looks like tomorrow?
Thanks for tuning in to Practice Playbook. If today's episode was helpful, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an update. For more tips and insights, be sure to follow AdvisorFlow on social media and stay tuned for upcoming episodes featuring expert speakers and practical advice to elevate your practice. Until next time, keep striving for excellence and building a practice that reflects your goals.